Hey guys, what's up? So this might be the last review for a while, because I actually have a job now. So I thought I would make, like, probably one of my last reviews, at least for a few weeks, of a very interesting film. It's a movie from 2015, and I need to give a bit of background before I tell you what movie it is. So, I watched this movie quite recently, within the past month or so. It's like a psychological kind of drama horror film called Found. Now, Found is about a young boy who is obsessed with horror movies. Now, I must make this clear right now. When I say obsessed with horror movies, I mean, I expected him to be like, oh, I love Halloween and Friday the 13th and, just like a lot of mainstream kind of classic horror. But no, in this kid's bedroom, there's posters for Without Warning, for movies like Without Warning, Street Trash. I know there's like one other in his room that's from a movie I've seen before. And in his older brother's room, you see a poster for Robo Geisha, Popcorn, Funhouse. Like, there are a lot of references to not just classic horror, but, classic exploitation films and, like, really lesser-known cult films. So, I was completely shocked by this, and that's one reason I really liked the movie. The other reason is it had a plot that was really interesting. The movie had to do with a young boy who is obsessed with horror movies, as I stated, who finds out that his older brother, who is also obsessed with horror movies, is a serial killer. Now this is an amazing idea for a movie, and this movie's actually on Hulu currently, so you can go watch it if you want. Now, the reason I'm covering this movie, well, not the reason I'm covering this movie, but the reason I watched that movie is because of this movie. You see, in the movie Found, there's a scene where the kid goes to a video store, and I would like to mention that you see movies on the shelves of the video store, stuff like Video Violence, The Toxic Avenger, Blood-Sucking Freaks, a lot of classic exploitation films. You see that stuff on the shelves, and he finds a movie called Headless. Now, this movie, he finds out that it's been missing from the place, so he doesn't get to rent it. And he goes home and looks in his brother's VHS collection and finds it. It turns out his brother had stolen the movie. And then they watch the movie, and it's, like, really, really crazy and disturbing. Now, while Found probably isn't the best horror movie of the last 10 years, and I mean, I will admit, it's not that well acted, and the characters aren't too likable. It's still a really cool, entertaining movie that I really liked. And before I knew about that movie, I heard about this movie, Headless. That's right. I saw that this movie was a spin-off of another movie, and I'm like, oh, I might want to see that movie because they might be related. And then I realized it's not really related other than the fact that this is the movie that's within the movie. So this movie is obviously like a throwback to classic, like, exploitation, like, slasher films, which I absolutely love those, as you know. Now, this movie, it's supposed to be a lost slasher film from 1978. It is about a masked killer who goes on a murder spree and a spree of just like murder, cannibalism, necrophilia, and he has a very tortured past, and he goes around, killing people, and then he plunges into greater depths of madness and depravity as he starts to, it's as his, like, addiction to murder kind of starts to ruin the lives of, a young woman and the people that the woman holds dear. So, yeah. This sounds awesome, and if it is anything like the movie Headless in the movie Found, then it's gonna be amazing. So, I'm gonna go watch this now. I'll be back in, like, I think Yeah, 85 minutes. I will be right back. Fucking. So the movie opens with a true grindhouse style, with a fake trailer for a movie called Wolf Baby. Similar to last year's Wolf Cop, except this is about a heroin addict who happens to be a werewolf and then gets this girl pregnant, and then she gives birth to a half wolf, half wolf, half heroin addict human baby. And it's literally only about 30 seconds long, and I'm not gonna lie, I would pay to see that movie. So, then the movie really starts off with, it starts off how it does when it's shown in the movie, and in the movie that it originated from, Found. It basically just shows what the segment of the movie that they showed and Found with with credits on it, and the credits look like really cheap, kind of like exploitation film, like low budget credits, which is really nice touch. Um, so I'm happy that the movie at least has that connection to Found. It could have had any connection at all. It could have had no connection at all. But I'm glad it had at least a little bit of a connection. So, so finally we get to something that we haven't seen before in the movie. Headless, the killer Headless, wakes up in a dog kennel. He sleeps in a dog kennel. With his child, like, partner in crime, who actually later, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but it turns out that this child that is with him throughout the entire movie is actually a hallucination. But, it becomes obvious after a little bit. I mean, at first I thought it was genuinely like an actual child. But, he wakes up in the morning, and he's as creepy as I remember him looking in Found. He also, he goes out and he kidnaps this woman from like a nightclub, and he tortures her while the, hallucination kid, who is known as Skull Boy, basically watches, and he ends up fucking her with a machete. Not gonna lie, I did not see that coming at all. And I honestly don't think I've ever seen that in a slasher film, let alone a slasher film that's a throwback to the 70s and 80s. So this film has a lot in common with Ryan Nicholson's Gutterballs, in the sense that it has really good gore. It's definitely got that 70s, 80s exploitation vibe. It's obvious that this film was shot digitally, but they still try to make it look a little tattered and old, put a, like, filter on it, which, I mean, it's okay. It's really brutal with its violence, and it's definitely not gonna really be too popular with a mainstream audience. Much like Gutterballs, the acting is pretty bad. The writing is a bit okay. The gore effects are probably the real highlight of the film. The characters aren't really that well fleshed out, but again, it's a slasher film. It doesn't really matter. Everything from a technical standpoint, lighting, camera work, digital effects, I don't think I noticed any, but anything from that standpoint, sound mix, it's all, very well done. It's definitely better than I expected it to be in those aspects of the film. It also has a lot of, like, surreal moments to it as well. It has a lot of really weird, surreal moments, which I honestly think that the director kind of drew from Dario Argento's work. There's also a lot of elements in the film from stuff like Psycho, Don't Go in the House, Maniac, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the kind of abandoned house that Headless lives in the movie is very similar to like Frank Zito's apartment in Maniac, how he has like, you know, body parts in the apartment and it's really messy. And it's also similar to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house because it's got bodies and rotting corpses everywhere and all this other weird shit. The killer is really the killer is also really crazy and like brutal, which also reminds me of BBK from Gutter Balls. Been making a lot of Gutter Balls connections if you couldn't tell already. So it's obvious that the pacing is kind of okay, you know, there's always something interesting or entertaining going on to keep things going, to keep you entertained, or at least interested in the story. And by watching the film, it becomes really obvious that this movie wasn't just made to be a kind of coincidental, like, oh, it's the movie inside the movie, kind of the Inception kind of joke, or it's not doing it just because, you know, to make money off of the moderate success of Found. It was made out of genuine interest in the source material, as well as a love for the slasher genre. It's very obvious. I mean, the references that are made probably aren't the most, you know, like, the most obvious, but I mean, even if they aren't references, there's still things that slasher film fans are gonna notice that slasher film fans, you know, well-versed ones at least, are going to notice when watching it, and, you know, kind of be like, oh yeah, that was also in this movie. So there's that. Now, on the gore meter from 1 to 10. 1 being something like Nosferatu, and 10 being something like Brain Dead. Headless is probably about a 6. Yeah. Also, like the new gore meter, huh? It's right. I'm bringing it back. Now that I've got the program working again. So, yeah, there's a lot of blood and gore and decapitation in this film, as well as quite a bit of skull fucking. I did not expect that. It's definitely not the best, like, slasher film or horror subgenre kind of, like, tribute film ever made, but it's still a pretty solid flick, and I would definitely recommend it. Although I've got to say, much like Gutter Balls, this film was probably not going to find its true audience for a long time. Like, the only reason Gutter Balls is probably Ryan Nicholson's like highest rated films out of his entire filmography is because it's probably one of the films out of his filmography, like one of the only films out of his filmography that isn't constantly called one of the worst movies ever made. That's what I kind of feel about this film. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to hate this movie. I am more than 90% sure. But this film is still going to have a pretty decent-sized cult following. At least I hope it will have a pretty decent-sized cult following. So, I will leave you with my final rating, and something you can quote me on if you want to put this on a website, or if you want to write something about it. I would give this film 4 out of 5. Maybe 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, Headless is truly a demented, twisted, sick, depraved skull fuck of a film. I'll see you guys next time. So anyway, guys, if you liked the video, like my channel, be sure to like this video, favorite it, whatever you want, and maybe subscribe perhaps. I would really appreciate that. And check the links in the description below. There are links to things like my Tumblr, Twitter, all that, Facebook. All that is in the description below. Hey there, kids. Do you want to get cool stuff in the mail like this? Or this? Or even this? Well, then subscribe to Horror Block today. Have you ever wanted to do cool cosplays like this? Or even this? Well, now you can. Subscribe to Moonchild Cosplay on YouTube, and you can see all her tutorials on how to do cool stuff like this. Do you want to get cool horror and exploitation film t-shirts like this? Or this? Or this? Well, then go to RottenCotton.com to check out all of their premium t-shirts.